The Poltergeist Clown is an unreleased Party City 2025 animatronic. This was an item being developed by SVI for release this season. But with Party City's bankruptcy in December of last year, the entire 2025 Halloween lineup was cancelled and went unseen by the public. This Poltergeist Clown is one of the only existing prototypes of the prop, being created and sent to the Party City corporate team for review shortly before the closure. Will this classic licensed character ever be picked up and sold by another retailer in the future? I guess only time will tell. Without any further ado, let's unbox the Poltergeist Clown prototype.
For everything scary, I'm GMHaunts, and welcome to yet another Halloween 2025 animatronic unboxing, setup, demo, and review video. Now this unboxing is without a doubt my most special of the 2025 season because today I am opening up one of the only existing prototypes for an unreleased Poltergeist Clown animatronic made by SVI meant for Party City. If you know anything about animatronics, you're probably aware of the fact that prototypes are incredibly sought after, but very difficult to find, as both retailers and factories tend to keep them behind closed doors and off of places like eBay or Facebook Marketplace, as they really don't want them out there. And this one is even more special than just any other ordinary prototype, because this one was for an unreleased animatronic that, like I just said, was for Party City. I was able to pick up this absolute grail of a prototype from a close friend of mine who had connections to Party City, and I've been told by them that there were at least 4 prototypes that were made of the Poltergeist Clown, and as of right now, in October of 2025, 2 of those prototypes have surfaced, one of them being owned by another good friend of mine, Spooky Guy 444, and he showcased his prototype right here on YouTube as well, and the second one being the one that is right in front of me. So those other 2, we have no idea where they are. Hopefully they do come up, but as of right now, their locations are mysterious. Alright, so I'll give you a close-up look at the box for this prototype animatronic from SVI, and obviously with this being an item that was very much still in development, it does not have any artwork on the box. As you can see, it is just a normal cardboard package. The only thing that it does have is an early prototype image of the Poltergeist Clown right on the front there. We do not believe that that's the one in this box. That's likely a sample that was in China, but again, we're really not sure where it could have ended up. Maybe it's still in China, maybe it's in the United States. We really have no idea, but that is the only sign of anything that is on this box. Obviously with prototypes, they normally don't have any artwork finalized as they're still working on developing the item itself. So there is the box for Poltergeist. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I have cut the tape on the box and I have not looked at the inside yet. So you're going to get my very first reaction. Here it is with the bubble wrap right in there. And I can see that right on the top, we have the instructions for the animatronic. Now, even this itself is very, very interesting because most of the time prototypes do not have instructions because, as I just said with the artwork thing, they're normally still finalizing the item itself and things like this kind of normally come last. But it looks like with the Party City Poltergeist Clown, SVI actually had already done the instructions and taken all of the piece images. So there it is. As you can see, it does say Poltergeist Clown. It has the SVI item number on there with the parts list. It is just a black and white set of instructions printed on like normal paper. Definitely not what you would normally expect from SVI. But again, this is a prototype. So there it is. I'll take an image of it so you can see it close up if you would like to. And there's the finished setup image of the animatronic. Again, this is really, really exciting because normally prototypes don't have this. Next up, we have the main torso with the control box, and this is another very interesting piece because, as you can tell, the control box itself does have a little sticker on it with the same SVI item number that was written on the instructions. It looks like that was written in pen by someone most likely in China, could have been in the United States, but that's something you would only see on a prototype. And obviously on the front there, just like production models, it does say Seasonal Visions International on the copyright. But here is the main mechanism, and again, the main torso frame for the Poltergeist Clown. Other than the sticker on the control box, this is pretty similar to what you would see on a production SVI prop. So here it is. I will say it has a ton of wires. Next up, we have the waist loop. Here we have the very first leg for the Poltergeist Clown, and as you can see, this was a very interesting design choice because they actually have the metal pole running inside of the costuming, which I think makes it much easier for assembly. And another really interesting thing is the fact that even though this was an early prototype, the parts actually do have the little letter labels. As you can see, this was piece D, which again is something they don't always do on prototypes, which is fun to see that they did do all of that with this Poltergeist Clown. I love the little shoe with the bell on it. Very nice attention to detail from SVI. So here's this. Here's the other leg. This one looks to be identical to the first one, and it also does have a letter of D on it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for the most important piece of this animatronic and the prototype Poltergeist Clown. Inside all of this packaging, we have the head. Let's open it up. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. The head for the clown has been unraveled from all the packaging, and I'm going to give you the very first look at it. I did get a little peek as I was opening it up, and this thing looks absolutely amazing. I'm going to take a look. Oh my gosh, this thing is awesome. I can already tell just from the very first time looking at it that yes, this thing is definitely hand painted, which is something you see on basically all prototypes. A lot of them do have hand painted details as they're trying to get it absolutely perfect to show the retail company. And I mean, just take a look at that. Absolutely incredible paint job, with no mistakes on there, no errors. This thing looks super cool. And as you can see, the hat is already attached to it, which is actually labeled as piece J, but it is already attached via Velcro. It's a pretty small head, as you can see, compared to the size of my head, but the hair looks really awesome. It's all straightened out. And again, I just can't get over, look at those eyes too. Super cool. We have a wire coming from there. I mean, even just take a look at that. You wouldn't normally see exposed wires like that long on a production model, but with a prototype, you do see that. This thing looks super awesome. So there's the head. Next up is the first arm of the clown with the hand already attached. And I can tell you right now, this definitely feels 3D printed. And you can probably even see that on camera with like that 3D printing mesh on there, if you know what that looks like. And it definitely feels like that. Again, that's another thing that they do a lot of times on prototype animatronics, or 3D printing just to get something made as quickly as possible. So that looks really awesome. The same Poltergeist Clown material and texture on the arm there with the really cool blue accent. So there's an arm. Here's the other arm. We have the collar of the animatronic, and this is pretty standard for an SVI prop. I really like that it's kind of like puffed up and got some material in there to give it shape. So here's this. And this, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most exciting things on this prototype animatronic. We have the main costuming for the Poltergeist Clown, and this obviously looks a little bit weird right now because it's not in shape, but you can see the star on there. That's not the exciting thing. It's what's attached to the clothes that make this piece so awesome. As you can tell, this guy does in fact have a prototype tag from PCHI, which was Party City Holdings Inc. And this just gives you all the details of the prototype, including the factory, which obviously was Seasonal Visions, SVI, and some other notes on there. It does say that this is a prototype and it was a new item for the licensor. I'll take a photo of this and put it on the screen so you can read the entire thing. But this is really awesome for animatronic nerds like myself, just to have a piece of history like this. So there is the prototype tag. And then finally, we have the base, which as you can see is really not that big. I expected it to be a little bit bigger for this animatronic, but I guess he's smaller because he's just meant to be the Poltergeist Clown doll. I will say I can definitely tell that it's a prototype because some of the paint on there is not as thick as it would be on a production model. So here's the base. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're now going to begin the setup for this prototype Poltergeist Clown animatronic. And for the very first step, I'm gonna go ahead and add on the right leg of the clown. And as I said when I was unboxing this guy, the poles actually did come inside of the legs. I'm not sure if that was gonna be something on the production model or that was just done on the prototype, but there we go. I've connected the pole, and now his shoe will just slide all the way down like so. Now I'll go ahead and do the exact same thing for the left leg. So this will snap lock onto the base, and then I'm going to turn his shoe around so it's facing forward and slide it all the way down. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and put the main costume over top of the pole. So this should be pretty easy. It looks like the two legs are just going to slide over the poles we just added. So I'll go ahead and put this on. For the next step, I'm gonna add on the main module with the control box. This will just slide and snap lock in as with any other Typical SVI prop. So we'll go ahead and snap lock this in. Now I'm gonna go ahead and attach the waist loop. So obviously this just goes right over top of the main module piece as it would on any other SVI prop, or really animatronic for that matter, and put it right into place. Now we'll go ahead and add on the right arm of the clown. This is a very simple and standard 2-prong fork connection. And as you can see, this guy doesn't really have sleeves because of the way the character is. He just kind of has the main costume and then the sleeve that's on the arm itself. So connect the arm just like that and pull the sleeve over. Obviously, I'll go ahead and do the exact same thing for the left arm. So just slide it into the 2-prong fork connection. Now we'll take the sleeve and adjust it right over top. Something really awesome about this prototype that I'd love to point out is that he actually does feature posable arms. As you can see, you can have them go up or lower down, and the same goes for the right arm. As you can see, you can kind of bend it and it does stay right in place. That's a really awesome thing, and just one of the many, many reasons I wish we could see this guy released at some retailer in the future, because I love those posable arms. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add on the silver collar for the Poltergeist Clown. This attaches via Velcros. So there's one on the right and left sides, just like so. Interestingly enough, on this prototype, it actually does not go all the way around, which is pretty weird. I kind of expected it to. Kind of does, as you can see, but it's more on the front there. And then it looks like on the back side, we have one more Velcro just like that. And we'll leave this spot open for the head. And finally, we can go ahead and add on the most important piece for the Poltergeist Clown animatronic prototype, and this is his head. So I'm gonna slide the wire all the way down into the body, and that will just attach via a 2-prong fork connection. I wanna make sure that's all the way down. There it is. Obviously, the hat is already attached, as I showed you during the setup, which also just attaches via Velcro. So there's the head. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and plug in all of the wires coming from the body to those coming from the control box. And as you can tell, this is a little different than what we would see on a production model, because there's just like electrical tape connecting these together instead of actual like plastic coating. Again, that's because this is a prototype. And then finally, for the very last step, I'm gonna go ahead and plug the adapter right into the control box, and we're good to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so here he is, the 2025 Poltergeist Clown prototype by SVI, meant for Party City, assembled in all his glory. But before we get into my thoughts on him, let's take a look at the demos. Alright, so you just saw the demos for my 2025 Poltergeist Clown animatronic prototype by SVI, meant for Party City. And overall, I think this was an awesome animatronic, and one that I am really crossing my fingers eventually gets its release at some point in the future. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty difficult to separate the animatronic itself from the fact that it is such a rare prototype that will most likely never see the light of day, maybe at some point at some retail company, but more likely than not will just stay an unreleased prototype because of the fate that happened to Party City. However, I really do enjoy the animatronic itself. I think the Poltergeist Clown was such an awesome licensed idea, and one that I'm not gonna lie, I'm shocked that we hadn't seen up until this prototype as an animatronic. And like I said, I just really wish that another company would either buy this exact prop or make another Poltergeist Clown, because the concept is so good. The Poltergeist Clown was always a really awesome character, and without a doubt a very recognizable one because of the color scheme he has with the red, white, and blue, and obviously that face, which is so much from Poltergeist. It looks like no other clown, which makes him such a unique design. And that scene from the Poltergeist film is so classic, and one that's talked about quite a lot in the horror community. So it really does surprise me that we've never seen a life-size animatronic of the doll, obviously until this guy, which then ended up being unreleased. And just the fact that we don't see more merch of this character. When it comes to the animatronic itself, I think SVI and Party City were really onto something in making a really cool set of animations for the Poltergeist Clown. One thing I do want to say is that this guy does not feature any servo motors. Everything you're seeing are all classic reindeer wiper motors, whatever you want to call them, which is really impressive, especially when you take a look at the eyes and how they move from side to side. It looks super cool in person, and while on camera, you may mistake that for being servo motors. SVI did just get really creative in using reindeer motors to get that look of the eyes going from side to side. Again, it looks super awesome in person, and it's really not like anything we had seen from Party City. The audio on this guy is another strong point. Although this was a very early prototype, he actually did already have his audio in the control box, and the same goes for the prototype that Spooky Guy 444 has. Mason's also does have audio. I love the fact that they were going to give this guy 2 audio tracks instead of just 1. Obviously, he does not speak, he just has some laughing audio, but even when we get something like that, I always love when there's 2 audio tracks and not just 1 laughing, because it does get a little bit repetitive. So I love that SVI was going to give us 2. Another neat thing about this animatronic is that the hat actually does have a wire in it so you can pose it. And this is something I didn't notice until off camera when I was setting this guy up for the demos. As you can see, it has a wire in there and you can bend it in all kinds of different ways to give the hat a different look. I can even bend it the other way and have it kind of face like that. You can bend it so it's lower down. As you can see, that's a really cool addition. Obviously, I'm not exactly sure if that would have made it to the production model or if that would have only been on the prototype. Most likely, it would have made it to those real store production models, because it's likely something that SVI and Party City did want to include. But that's a really nice touch so that the hat isn't just a static piece. But overall, this guy is an awesome prototype, and like I said, one that I would definitely like to see get picked up by some retail company at some point in the future. If any buyers are by any chance watching this video, whether you're at Spirit, HalloweenCostumes.com, Lowe's, Home Depot, anywhere in the retail market, I would highly advise you to take a look at this guy from SVI and see if you can get your hands on him, because without a doubt, this would be an amazing seller. Like I said, Poltergeist is really an untapped license, especially when it comes to animatronics. And this guy definitely deserves to see the light of day. Although I love the fact that he is super rare and sought after right now with only 4 known prototypes in the entire world, I would still love the fact if he did end up releasing, because he's a great prop. I want to send a huge thank you out to my friend that I was able to purchase this grail from. You know who you are, but I guess, remember as always, for everything scary, I'm GMHaunts. I'll see you guys later for more Halloween 2025 animatronic unboxings. Goodbye.